Shalom, 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 Israel. This is Captain Paul Israel from Kingdom Builders of Israel LLC, and today's class lesson is going to be on biblical femininity according to the Bible, part 2. Again, Israel, this class lesson is going to be on biblical femininity according to the Bible, part 2. Okay, Israel, so get out your pen and notepad, Israel, because this is going to be another good lesson to discuss on this subject matter on biblical femininity. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, on this next slide right here, we have Hebrew women are to be submissive to their husband. Okay, so this is going into the understanding of the righteous mindset that the Hebrew women of today are supposed to have, because the women of the Bible knew this concept on being submissive to their husband. So we're going to go into these key points right here on how a woman is supposed to be submissive to their husband. It says they know how to cooperate with their husband. They know how to compliment their husband. They know how to be quiet at times. They know how to present a welcoming behavior around others. They know not to be a constant or chronic complainer. Okay, so these are the good fundamentals that Hebrew women are supposed to have when they are applying a form of submission to their husband. Okay, so it says, the first point, it says they know how to cooperate with their husband. So they know how to get along very well with their husband. They're not coming off intimidating to their husband. They're not coming off very masculine to their husband. So this is what the good fundamentals of this understanding is when a woman is submissive to her husband. She's going to know how to cooperate on certain matters, cater to her husband's needs or cater to her children's needs. She's going to make sure that house is well put together. She's going to make sure that house is together and at peace. She's going to create a peaceful atmosphere for that house to function normally. The next point, they know how to compliment their husband. So a woman with the right state of mind who is a wife to a husband, she's going to know how to encourage her husband to do better or to do good in life or to keep going when trials and tribulation occur. She's going to be that battery to that husband to keep pushing. She's going to encourage that husband to do a good work for the family. She's going to make sure that husband has high self-esteem to do what he needs to do to make sure the house is functioning properly. This is what a honorable woman is going to do. And this is what the Hebrew women of the Bible knew, to have that type of spirit, to be able to compliment their husband on certain matters. The next point, they know how to be quiet at times, because in general, modern women of today don't know how to be quiet at times in certain occasions. But the Hebrew woman rolling with the right type of spirit of Yahweh's righteousness, she knows how far to take a conversation. She knows when to have a conversation when engaging in understanding with her husband, right? She knows not to overtalk her husband, because modern women of today, they know how to overtalk over their husband as if they're basically their husband's mother. So the modern women of today come off as being a mother rather than a wife to their husband, because they are pushing off a more masculine energy. So to push off the feminine energy of righteousness, a woman must cater to being quiet at times, and she's supposed to know when to be quiet at times when she's hearing or having a conversation with her husband, so it doesn't come off as if she's trying to overtalk over her husband. So these are all key fundamentals that a righteous woman would know how to do and how to carry over a conversation. Because most modern women come with a more hatred, argumentative, quarrelsome spirit when engaging in conversating with their husband. Next point, it says they know how to present a welcoming behavior around others. So a woman that's rolling with the right spirit of the Most High, they're going to know how to what? Roll with a different type of spirit that's more humble, that's more quiet and relaxed. So when this particular woman steps into a room, the energy of the room, remains calm. So when this particular woman steps into the room or wherever she's at, when she's dealing with other people, or when she walks into the presence of her husband, she brings a more welcoming peace concept of understanding to the room. So she projects good energy towards others, meaning she's not going to come into the room angry. She's not going to come into the room looking aggressive. She's not going to come into a room or around others. She's not going to come around others with an angry spirit, right? This is what modern women have. They have more of an angry, aggressive, or a more authoritative spirit. This is the type of spirit Yahweh does not want the daughters of Israel to be entangled in. Okay, the more argumentative, quarrelsome, authoritative spirit, that's not the spirit vibration of a Hebrew woman of understanding is supposed to be mimicking. The Hebrew women with the understanding of Yahweh's righteousness are supposed to come off with a more welcoming and humble spirit, more relaxed, right? So when this woman walks into the room brightens up. People feel more at peace. They don't feel tense. They don't feel something bad is about to happen, right? So this is the energy or the level of understanding when this righteous woman steps into the room. She brings in more peace and calm environment to wherever she's at. She's not rolling with that aggressive, argumentative spirit that we see the modern women of society are engaging in, like they're doing today. You look at the Atlanta Housewives of Atlanta. These women come off like a more argumentative, quarrelsome, authoritative spirit. And when they step into the room, people are already going to feel the tension from these particular women because they don't roll with a spirit of humbleness. They don't roll with the spirit of being less aggressive. So again, the Atlanta Housewives of Atlanta, spirit vibration women, that's not the spirit of the Bible. Okay, the spirit of the Bible is more calm and collective, humble and welcoming spirit that the women of our nation, the Hebrew women, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indian women are supposed to be rolling with. Okay, this is how you create that good tone, that good energy, that good presentation about yourself, you Hebrew sisters, to be able to be a good asset unto your husband, to make him look good, to make him what? Present himself to others in a good eye or a good viewpoint. Okay, because if you Hebrew women are coming with more aggressiveness, it makes the man look like he's weak. Because a woman is not supposed to carry herself with aggression or anger. She's supposed to come with a more soft and welcoming spirit. As you can see in this picture, something like this, a more welcoming, calm spirit. This creates a good atmosphere in a room setting with people around. Next point, they know not to be a constant or chronic complainer. See this, Israel? So the Hebrew women that's rolling with the right type of spirit know not to be a constant or chronic complainer. Okay, so modern women of today are known to be always complaining about something, always nagging their husband on something, always not happy. Right? They always have to go search for things to make them happy. And then when they find these things that's supposed to make them happy, they're still not happy. they always have to find up ways and strategies to always complain about something so they can eventually get what they want out of their husband or out of others based upon their constant complaining or the constant nagging about something. Something is never right in their eyesight. And this is the type of spirit modern women are rolling with, being constant complainers. Okay, so the humble woman of Yahweh's righteousness of understanding, they're not rolling with a constant or chronic complainer spirit. So this is another spirit a lot of modern women are battling with, the complaining, nagging, irritating spirit, or the chronic complainer spirit. It's a continuous nagging spirit. Every day they are complaining about something. And many Hebrew brothers of today know what I'm talking about, right? They're dealing with a woman in the house that's constantly complaining about something that doesn't satisfy them. They complain about the smallest matters, whether it comes about bills, whether it comes about not being able to go to certain places at certain time. They complain about things that they want their man to spend money on them on when the man is not able to do so, but they're constantly nagging this man about something that they're not doing. Okay, so this is the type of spirit that the men of Israel are battling with in their own household. So that's why this type of woman, she's going to create a negative tension in the house. So this is why a lot of men go off and deal with other women primarily at times, because they want to get a woman that's coming with a more softer approach, right? Less aggressiveness. Okay. So this is one of the reasons. Okay, a lot of men deal with the side chick woman or want to go off and deal with other women outside of their wife, right? Because the wife primarily is coming with aggressiveness behavior, which is going to push the man away from focusing on his own house with his wife. Okay, so again, an honorable woman knows that she has to roll with the right type of spirit on not being a constant complainer or a chronic complainer in order for her to have a good relationship with her husband and also be in the good light of her children. So she can show her children how it is for a husband and wife to come together, to be in the like-minded understanding, to build and grow with each other, so that understanding can be passed on to the children. So when the children get involved with their future relationships, they will know how to handle themselves because they're seeing good behavior coming from their father and mother based upon the mother's example of not being a chronic or constant complainer. The mother in righteousness, she's going to be focusing on these key points that's on this PowerPoint slide right here. Okay, so if you Hebrew women are battling, not operating in these type of spirit of understanding, you need to repent. You need to work on yourself so you can roll with this type of spirit of understanding right here on the slide right here. Okay, so this is another point right here in this next slide. Hebrew women are to be submissive to their husband continue. So this is a basic continuation of the right spirit of understanding that the Hebrew women are supposed to have. It says, they know that they were created to be with a man. They know that marriage is a bond agreement between husband, wife, and Yahweh. They don't believe in the female goddesses' theologies. They choose godly men to rule over them. They know it's best to be married in their youth, 20 years and upward. So a righteous woman with Yahweh's understanding in their mind and their consciousness, right? They know that they were created to be with a man. See, Hebrew women that's in the right understanding know that they was created to be with a man. Point blank period. Modern women of today's standards, right, based upon feminism, they believe they are sometimes equal to the man. They believe that sometimes they was created to be above the man, right? That's a worldly concept of what a woman understanding is supposed to be. But Yahweh's spiritual understanding is shown in the scriptures that women were created to be with a man. That's what women's purpose on earth was, to be with a man. Okay, to bring in life for the legacy of that man who they ended up marrying, right? That's how you produce population. That's how you produce families, by the essence of husband and wife situation of a together solid agreement. The next point, they know that marriage is a bond agreement between husband, wife, and Yahweh. So a woman with the right understanding know that marriage is very sacred, right? Marriage is basically important, right? It's an agreement between that husband, wife, and Yahweh. See, a righteous woman going to know this understanding. See, worldly women, they believe that marriage is just a unification based upon just husband and wife only, and that's it. No, it's a bond agreement between Yahweh, husband, and wife. That's what a righteous woman would know. Worldly women just think marriage is just between husband and wife, and that's just it, right? So this is the right understanding when we get into husband and wife marriage is a bond agreement between husband, wife, and Yahweh. Yahweh has to be involved in the understanding for that marriage between husband and wife to work out, basically. The next point, they don't believe in the female goddesses theologies because the Hebrew women rolling with the right type of spirit know that the women or the female goddesses theologies comes from those Gentile religions. And these females that's rolling with the right type of spirit of Yahweh's righteousness, they know those religions are man-made doctrines. The right type of understanding that these ladies that's rolling with the right type of spirit is supposed to have is to know that there's no such thing as female goddesses. Okay? So the right woman, that's a Hebrew woman that's in the right mind, she's going to know these things. Because worldly women, they're going to bask in that understanding of female goddesses and female theologies, right? As far as going into all that sorcery, witchcraft, they're going to go into astrology, zodiac signs. This is what worldly women are going to do, right? Which is going into sin. The next point, they choose godly men to rule over them. So Hebrew Israelite women rolling with the right type of spirit, they know to choose righteous men that's keeping Yahweh's law, statutes, and commandments. This is what a righteous Hebrew woman of the nation of Israel are going to do. They're going to choose a godly man. They're not going to choose men of the world claiming to be a man of the Most High, right? Hebrew women rolling with the right type of spirit are going to see the presentation of this particular man that they're interested in, that they want to make them their husband. They're going to do what? They're going to be like, this man is honorable. He's respected in the community. I've seen the works of this man. He's all about Yahweh's commandments. So this is the understanding that a Hebrew woman will understand and is going to see. And then eventually she's going to give in to marry this man once the marriage proposal is positioned towards her. So a woman of understanding is going to choose godly men. The women of the world are not going to choose godly men. They're going to choose worldly men of the world, claiming to be a follower of the Most High, or claiming to not believe in the Most High at all. A lot of these Hebrew women that's of the world, they mainly choose wicked men to make them their husbands. Okay? So, again, the right type of spirit for you Hebrew women is to choose men that's keeping Yahweh's law, statutes, and commandments. The next point, they know it's best to be married in their youth, 20 years and upward. So the Hebrew women that's rolling with the right type of spirit, they know that it's best to get married in their youth. and their youth is the age of 20 years and upward, right? Righteous women know this. They know not to wait till they get in their 30s, 40s, 50s to now think about getting married. That's a backwards understanding. But we do know women can get married at basically at any age, theoretically, beyond age 20 years and upward. Okay? 20 years and upward, women can, of course, get married according to the Bible. But theoretically, a woman with the right understanding know that it's best to get married in her youth. Modern women go off experiences, meaning they want to enjoy life, live their best life. Then eventually down the road, then later want to get married. That's backwards, right? That's backwards. And that's what modern women have not been taught. They've been taught this later on in life when they got into the age 30s and 40s and maybe possibly 50s to now think about getting married. Just like you have Vivica A. Fox. She's now age 60 now, right? Now she's thinking about getting married now, right? That's backwards. She's supposed to already have the mentality of getting married in her youth. And she was previously married to another man previously, you know, when she was in her 30s. But she left this man based upon this man not having a lot of money to cater to her needs.
The divorced Vivica Fox says her mother didn't raise her to care for a man. To date Vivica Fox, you must bring home the bacon. Vivica Fox speaks with Vlad TV on her failed marriage to Christopher, 6'9", Harvest. From 1998 to 2002, they were married. They married Christopher Harvest, a music group singer. Initially, Vivica Fox said their marriage ended because they didn't know each other well. To be honest, I wanted a Cinderella day like everyone else. So the marriage didn't last long since I didn't get to know him. I felt peer pressure. Fox said his lack of incentive and money ended the marriage when asked what happened. At the time, Christopher Harvest sang, she said. He was meant to get signed to Death Row Records with his group. After Tupac was assassinated and Death Row Records fell apart, he didn't pursue things with the same zeal I did for my career. Fox added, "Woman doesn't like paying bills all the time. After asking for help so many times, I decided I didn't want to be the family earner. Mom never taught me to take care of men. That decided it."
So Vivica A. Fox just been sleeping all around the place, right? That's a worldly woman concept. And then when she get to the age of 60, now she's thinking about settling down now. That's off as hell, right? That's off, right? That's not the right understanding.
And finally, everyone's giving me my flowers. And it's about time.
Okay, so yeah,
and I'm taking them.
Yeah, and you deserve them.
Thank you,
Let's
sweetheart.
talk about what else you're wanting. Are you dating?
Yeah.
How's it going?
I'm wanting to date.
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
it's limited resources out there, right?
Yes.
Because I'm not getting on an app. I just,
No, why? You're just not into
I'm
it.
old fashioned. I'm like, I need to meet you and sparks happen
Yeah.
and stuff like that because I just believe people make up stories
Yeah.
saying who and what
Yeah,
they are.
exactly.
And
What are you
so,
looking for at this stage, this point?
a partner.
Yeah.
And when I say a partner, I want someone that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
That's not intimidated by who and what I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That likes to travel.
Yeah.
Going to let me go shopping.
Yeah.
I feel like you just spoke it into existence.
I hope so, girlfriend.
I feel like you
So
just
if you got, and I'm taking applications.
Oh,
so
you
if
know,
you got a friend.
okay,
I'm good.
We'll be all. We'll
and
all
I
be
don't
on the hunt.
discriminate. He can be. I'm not against different nationalities. Then you know that too.
Vivica's gonna stick around. She's laying down the law. We got some hot topics coming up.
The right understanding is ladies need to find a good man that's keeping these commandments and marry in thy youth, age 20 years and upward. And also women need to get married once they know the fundamentals of what a wife role is, first and primarily. Your lady's not supposed to just get married because you are young, but you're supposed to get married when you are ready, meaning you have learned the fundamentals of being a wife and what a wife role is to be, so you can be a good asset unto that husband. That's the first understanding prior before a woman should be putting herself on the market to get married. She first has to know what marriage is according to the Bible. Okay? But again, righteous women know that it's best to get married in their youth, 20 years and upward, point blank, period. Okay, so now we got the understanding. So the next slide says, a Hebrew woman example of forms of submission to her husband. So this is just going to present certain forms of submission to their husband. So this is a understanding of a Hebrew woman, an example of forms of submission to her husband. So this is just an example that a righteous woman is supposed to present a form of submission to her husband on. Okay, these are just key examples right here. Okay, and as you can see, we're going to explain what this lady is doing when she's on the floor on her knees, servicing her man as far as giving him food to eat. Right, this is the spirit that the women of the Bible had of humility. Right, a lot of modern women are not going to get on their knees to serve their husband, right, because they believe that they are above the man. Right, a lot of modern women believe that they are above the man, and they feel as though in their heart that they wouldn't dare get on the knees to serve their husband, because they don't view their husband as their head. But the Hebrew women view their husband as their head. Okay, so let's go to it. Let's go to these key points. Kneeling at times when serving husband food. So righteous women kneel at times when serving husband food. So again, righteous women serve their husband food by kneeling on the ground. Not all the time. It's not required all the time to do so, but this is the understanding of humility and actually understanding what submission really is. Okay, kneeling at times when serving husband food. The next point right here says acknowledging their husband present when he first comes home from work or from a long day of outside activities. It says next point, honor the husband by being soft and feminine to set a more welcoming tone in the house, which we kind of somewhat said earlier. And it says show respect to the husband by being considerate to his feelings when issues occur. This is just an example of a Hebrew woman, how she's supposed to present herself as far as showing a form of submission to her husband. And the first point I said, kneeling at times when serving husband food. So this is a form of essence of respect towards her husband, as acknowledging him as her Lord, as her head, as her leader. Right? So just look at this example right here. This one lady serving her husband food. Okay, when he's in the house, when he's ready to eat. Just watch this example of a woman rolling with the right type of spirit of humbleness and of the understanding of feminine characteristics that she's supposed to show. Right? This is the right spirit that our sisters are supposed to have towards to their husband. Check this video out. As you see, Israel, you have a Hebrew woman operating in the right spirit of showing feminine characteristics, showing a form of submission to her husband. Modern women will not do this. Modern women will get angry at doing this. Modern women don't have that humble spirit enough to even do this type of stuff by kneeling in front of their husband. Right? They're going to sit there and be like, I would never get on no knees for no man. Right? That's the arrogant spirit most Hebrew women have. Right? But this is the right type of spirit a woman should have. Right? But this is not a requirement that all the time when a woman cook her food, she's supposed to kneel for her husband. That's not a requirement at all the time. But this is one of the characteristics of submission towards a woman supposed to have towards her husband at times. Okay, at times is not all the time. But this is just a form that a Hebrew woman is showing submissiveness towards to her husband on doing. Okay. Next point, acknowledging their husband present when he first comes home from work or from a long day of outside activity. So now when the husband comes home from work or he had a long day of doing certain things, the wife looks at her husband, hugs him, kisses him. She encourages him by giving him compliments on his day. How did you feel? Hope everything is well. She puts the man in the right spirit when he comes home. See, worldly women or modern women are going to come with more aggressiveness or not even acknowledge their husband when he comes home. They're not even going to pay this husband no mind. He came home. The wife didn't even say, hey, how you doing? Or she didn't even give him a welcoming hug or anything. She didn't even acknowledge him coming into the room. She in the other room. So basically, modern women not even paying any attention to their man. You know, from a long, hard day of work or whatever he's doing. See, righteous women going to be like, no, I need to pay attention to my husband. When he get home, I'm going to make sure everything all right. I'm going to make sure he's all right. The next point, honor the husband by being soft and feminine to set a more welcoming tone in the house. So, again, that's how you honor the husband, ladies, by being more soft, right? You set a more welcoming tone in the house. That's what it's all about. So now the husband, when he gets home or when he's already in the house, he doesn't have to worry about being on eggshells with you, right? Because he know he has a good woman. He don't have to worry about intimidation coming from a woman who's supposed to be his wife. He has a more softer approach type of woman, which creates a good atmosphere, a good environment for this man to dwell in his house peacefully. It says, show respect to the husband by being considerate to his feelings when issues occur. So again, a righteous woman, she's going to cater to her husband's feelings when she sees her husband going through trials and tribulations, right? She's going to be caring, supportive, and willing to do what she has to do to cheer up her husband in certain matters when certain trials and tribulations occur. Modern women, they don't want nothing to do with their husband if trials and tribulations occur, because most modern women expect man to just be 100% solid every day. That's not realistic, because men in general are human, right? They go through emotional problems. They go through trials and tribulations just like anybody else out here, right? So, end of the day, a considerate woman of the right understanding is going to make sure her husband, is okay, right? She's going to respect her husband. An honorable woman is going to respect her husband to the point where she's going to make sure she hears the stress, she hears the problems of her husband, and then she's going to be willing to do things to encourage her husband to do better, or she's going to put something in perspective to cheer up her husband to make sure he stays in a good spirit. And this is why a lot of relationships go sour when the man goes too crazy and does things he's not supposed to do. It's because that woman let her man get to that point, primarily because she's not there playing her role as being a helpmate unto the man. She's not playing her role to make sure that man is solid on the foundation of having his mind right, because she was not there to respect this man as far as being considerate to this man's feelings, right? See, a righteous woman knows to be considerate to her man's feelings. And this is what encourages the relationship to grow and grow and grow, because a woman has control over her own emotions, and she also knows how to create a balance when it comes to catering to her husband's feelings. Okay, this all takes place in a righteous household right here of this understanding on these key points. Okay, lacking these key points, you're gonna cause the house to be divided, and then unfortunately it may lead to your husband leaving you, or basically filing for divorce. So practicing these key points is going to help the relationship grow. Okay, it says a worldly woman example of forms of not being submissive to her husband. As you can see in this picture right here, as you can see, this is the imagery that a lot of men are battling with in their house. A woman that's not really trying to submit to their husband. This is the wrong type of spirit for you Hebrew women to have. Okay, let's get into these points. It says not kneeling at times when serving husband food, not acknowledging their husband present when he first comes home from work or from a long day of outside activities, not honoring the husband by being soft and feminine to set a more welcoming tone in the house, not showing any respect to the husband by being considerate to his feelings when issues occur. So this is, again, the wrong type of spirit for Hebrew women to have, as you can see, right? So again, if you Hebrew women want to roll with this type of spirit, most likely your husband is going to leave you. Okay? Most likely this relationship is not going to work long term. Because in general, people have breaking points. People have breaking points. So if you're not rolling with this type of spirit overall, you're going to see problems in your relationship primarily, depending on what type of man you have. If you have a man that's strong, with a strong zeal, and he's building and growing in this Hebrew truth, guess what? He most likely is going to leave you, you Hebrew women, because you're not rolling with the right type of spirit. If you're following these points right here, as far as being a woman that's not being submissive to their husband. So Hebrew women need to be submissive to their husband. Okay, because this image is what's going on in the household every day, of the women not trying to listen or submit to their husband when their husband try to tell them to do things. These women do not want to hear anything from a man. Point blank, period. It says Yahweh blessing a child to a godly woman versus example. So this is going to be an example of Yahweh blessing a child to a righteous woman example. Okay, because again, Abraham's wife, whose name was Sarah, she was a righteous woman that kept Yahweh's commandments. So Yahweh likes to cater to his righteous women, right? He takes care of his righteous women because the righteous women of Yahweh roll with his type of spirit. Genesis chapter 17, verse 15. And Elohim said unto Abraham, as for Sarah, thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarah, but Sarah shall her name be. Genesis chapter 17, verse 16. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of the people shall be of her. So again, it's just explaining that Yahweh saw that Sarah was rolling with the right type of spirit of his righteousness. So Yahweh was going to open the womb of Sarah to now have a child, right? Even though she at this point was older in age. But Yahweh saw that Sarah was a righteous woman. That's why he changed her name from Sarah to Sarah. Because Yahweh was looking after Sarah. Because Sarah was married to a righteous man named Abraham. See, Sarah kept Yahweh's commandments. She chose a godly man. So as you can see, the characteristics of a righteous woman promoting feminine characteristics of Yahweh's righteousness and being rewarded with a child. And also being the mother of many nations, right? That's what it says, and she shall be a mother of nations, right? That's the reward of Sarah because she was an honorable woman. So we go to the next slide. Yahweh blessing a child to a godly woman verse examples continue. Genesis chapter 17 verse 17. Then Abraham fell, Genesis chapter 17 verse 17. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed and said in his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? So again, Abraham fell onto his face, praying towards to the Most High. He was laughing within himself, not doubting what was being said, but he was just shocked that Yahweh was going to still bless him with a child even in his old age, to now be birthed by his wife, who was what? 90 years old. So Sarah was 90 years old. And we do know that the older a woman gets, there's less chances that she will be able to bear a child. See, these occasions of a woman being able to bear a child past 50 are very rare, right? But This instance where a woman is now bearing a child at age 90, that's a shock. So through Yahweh, all things are possible, right? According to his righteousness. So Yahweh was going to do this favor for this godly woman named Sarah, because she was an honorable woman who kept Yahweh's law, statutes, and commandments. So this event is shocking Abraham, because he's like, hey, I'm 100 years old, and I'm going to have a child at 100, and my wife, 90 years old, she's going to be able to have a child? Let's go to Genesis chapter 18, verse 12, in this next slide where it says, Yahweh blessing a child to a godly woman, verse examples continue. So this is Genesis chapter 18, verse 12. Okay, so I had to take it from the previous chapter before we got to chapter 18 to explain the age difference and to explain the age of understanding on why it's a shock to Sarah when she found out that she's going to be able to have a child in her old age when we get into this chapter right here in chapter 18. Genesis chapter 18, verse 12. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? Because Sarah had heard a conversation that 3 men were having with Abraham, right? So she was shocked that this was even happening as far as a conversation on her being able to have a child when she herself was, at the age of 90 years old. She's kind of shocked. So she's saying, therefore Sarah laughed within herself because she's hearing the conversation that these 3 men were having with Abraham near their tent. Because again, back then, Abraham and Sarah was living in tents. Okay, so I'm just summarizing understanding. Okay, so it said, therefore Sarah laughed within herself because she heard these men talking to her husband Abraham, saying that she was going to be able to have a child according to prophecy. After I am waxed old. So Sarah is saying this to Abraham now. After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord, being old also? So now notice the key phrase. She referred to Abraham as being her Lord, right? Because she's seen Abraham as her head, as her leader. Genesis chapter 18, verse 13. And Yahweh said unto Abraham, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I of a surety bear a child which am old? Because Yahweh even heard, Sarah laugh about the incident because she was shocked that she would be able to bear a child at age 90. Because it was always once known that it's best to have a child in your youth. So this is the understanding Hebrew women of this time had to understand it on. She wasn't with the notion of, I'm gonna wait till I get real old to pop out a baby. No, she knew to pop out babies when you're getting married in your youth, because that's the normal process. See, you got to understand the mindset of Sarah. She knew this understanding. Sarah eventually realized that this was prophecy, that she was going to have a child even in her old age. Okay, that's what all this is getting into. Okay, I'm just summarizing understanding to show you the spirit of Sarah, why Yahweh, of course, blessed Sarah. The next slide. Sarah knew how to cook and obeyed Abraham. So this is just another key point that I'm just pointing out key points. We're not getting into the whole story, but this is just a summary of the basis of the godly characteristics of Sarah. Okay, and what made her feminine. Okay. Genesis chapter 18, verse 6. And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah and said, make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the hearth. So this is the next point, said, prove Sarah cooked and obeyed Abraham. So Abraham was in a rush to get a meal prepared for these 3 men that came to conversate with him outside of his tent. So he rushed to the tent where Sarah was at to now get her to cook some meal for these men and himself. Right? So notice Sarah didn't bulk up at Abraham and tell him, "Oh, I'm not cooking." She didn't snap at Abraham. She obeyed Abraham, as you can see. And Sarah knew how to cook, right? That's why Abraham told her to cook something, right? So it's showing you that Sarah knew how to cook because that's a part of femininity according to the Bible, right? Sarah knew how to cook, and she obeyed Abraham. She didn't smart mouth Abraham and say, "I ain't cooking nothing." No, she didn't. She was quiet. She knew to do what she was told from her husband. So in the other verses, right, we got the understanding that Sarah obeyed Abraham and she referred to her husband as being her Lord. Okay, when we go to Genesis chapter 18 verse 12, she referred to Abraham as her Lord. Then we go to the next understanding. She obeyed Abraham when he told her to cook something. She's showing a form of submissiveness towards her husband. So Sarah is showing a form of submissiveness to Abraham. This is just why I'm doing this lesson to show you why Yahweh was blessing Sarah. Yahweh just not going to bless somebody for no reason. She had showed good characteristics. Okay, as you can see. And then the next slide says a submissive woman example verse. So we go to 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 6. And of course, the book of Peter is going into the New Testament. So this is 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 6. It says, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters ye are, as long as ye do well and are not afraid with any amazement. So when we go to the Apostle Peter, he's letting it be known that Sarah obeyed Abraham, which we got somewhat of the history in Genesis chapter 18, understanding, right? Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, which we already got that example from earlier. Whose daughters ye are. So our women of today are supposed to be rolling with the same similar spirit of Sarah, who basically obeyed her husband Abraham. So the Hebrew women of today are supposed to be obeying their husband, just like their foremother Sarah did to her husband Abraham. It says, as long as ye do well. See, do well. It's well to do righteousness according to the Bible. So you Hebrew women have to do well according to Yahweh's righteousness. And we already put out in that PowerPoint slide what the key points of doing well was towards your husband, you Hebrew sisters. We already did those key points. And it says, and are not afraid with any amazement. So righteous women are not going to be afraid to practice righteousness. They're not going to be afraid to bask in their femininity, right? According to Yahweh's understanding. See, righteous women are going to promote their femininity according to the Bible. They're going to promote their femininity towards to their husband without any embarrassment, without being ashamed, without them being afraid to do so. Because many modern women are afraid to put out their femininity because they have been hurt throughout the years, right? So they have put up a protection barrier of them not going all the way into their true femininity. So they're mainly overly protective of that so they can have some type of protection of them not getting hurt from a man. So that's why you Hebrew women have to choose wisely, to choose a Hebrew man with understanding, so you can what? Be yourself without having that protection barrier of not being too submissive to the point where you don't want to do that because you feel as though you do all this submissiveness and the man still leave you. You'll be like, oh, I did all this for nothing. No. You have to choose wisely, you Hebrew women, to choose a godly man that's rolling with the right type of spirit, so you don't have to have that type of fear to now, not bask into your femininity, right? You want to have that courage to now bask in your femininity, because you now know that you have chose a righteous man to be with for the long road, okay? Because you chose an honorable man according to Yahweh's righteousness. Just like Sarah chose Abraham. So she was basking in her femininity because she knew Abraham was not going to leave her. She knew Abraham chose her to be his wife forever. Sarah did not choose a wicked man to marry, right? Sarah chose a righteous man to marry. Point blank, period. It says, next slide, worldly women using slang terms for their husbands. Okay, worldly women using slang terms for their husband. So worldly women, they're going to have slang terms how they address to their husband. Okay, and this is not feminine. All right, this is all masculine. Okay, it says the word baby, the word daddy, the word boy, the word nigga, the words my boo, the words baby daddy, the words boyfriend. These are all masculine terms of modern women understanding that they give unto the men that they choose to make them their husbands, right? But they don't even put the husband terminology to these men. These are the terms that they put these men on. And these men are being treated like little boys, or they be treated just as sex objects. So when a man is treated as a boy, when they're treated as a sex object, they're not treated with respect. So a man now goes into what? Having low self-esteem. A man goes into getting drunk all the time. A man goes to other forms of lust. Because he's not getting the treatment that he needs from his house. Because his woman that he has addresses him with these terms. These terms are not catered to Yahweh's righteousness. This is worldly terminology that's used towards men of the women choosing. This has to come out because a lot of men do not like to be referred to these terms, these terminologies. But modern women of today are terming Hebrew men these terms. So these men are operating in this weak feminine spirit of these terms. So this woman right here is addressing her man in these terms right here. As you can see, this would be somewhat of the understanding of what men are facing in these households on these terms. So how you address a man, you Hebrew ladies, is the result of the understanding of why your relationship is going downhill. Okay? These are terms you're not supposed to term your husband. You didn't see Sarah from the Bible. You didn't see Sarah, your foremother, terming Abraham baby. You didn't see Sarah terming her husband Abraham daddy. You didn't see Sarah terming her husband Abraham boy, or nigga, or my boo, or my baby daddy, or my boyfriend. Sarah did not term Abraham these terms. She referred to Abraham as her Lord. She put her husband on that pedestal of high regard or respect. So modern women have to repent of these terms given to their husband. Because this is not of the Most High Spirit that a woman is to acknowledge her man as these terms. But this is what worldly women are doing towards to their husband by naming these words to the men they with. It says righteous Hebrew women using good communication skills towards their husband. So again, this is what the righteous women are going to do. This is the righteous term of communication skills that righteous women are going to give towards to their husband. It says Hebrew women called their husband at times my Lord. You see that? At times, my Lord. Not saying it's required to do all the time, but at times this is the respect that this woman is going to give to her husband by terming this man as her Lord. Hebrew women called their husband at times my king. So this is another form of a righteous understanding of a righteous woman is going to give to her husband as being referred to as him being her king. Hebrew women called their husband at times by his name, right? So notice these key points. You didn't see the righteous women naming their husband these terms over here. The righteous women address their man either by their name or by addressing their husband by my king or my Lord. Just like we go back, what did Sarah say to Abraham in 1 Peter chapter 3 verse 6? Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord. So Sarah did not call Abraham these terms over here. As you can see, this is going off, right? So Sarah had the right understanding of calling or referring to her husband as her Lord at times. Okay? But this is the righteous understanding. This is all a part of repentance, of bringing the true essence of femininity that Hebrew women must work on. Okay, this is the right type of spirit Hebrew women are supposed to work on, as you can see in this picture right here. Right? It says, be his pillar of peace. The world is already against him. So this understanding is given. The woman is supposed to be a man's pillar of rest or peace. A Hebrew man in these last days are going through trial and tribulations. And these terminologies towards to a man, my Lord, my King, or call him by his name, that puts a man in high regard as far as encouraging him to have a liking towards his wife, to know, hey, my wife got my back. She's referring to me as these terms. She's not calling me these terms over here, right? These terms over here are these slang terms used towards these modern women husbands is going off, right? That's off as hell. So men overall internally don't like these things, but a lot of men are weak, meaning they're not going to tell their wife they don't like to be referred to these things. Okay, but righteous men that's following this Bible, these terms they do not like. Hebrew women need to be in this vibration of delivering righteous terms like my Lord, my King, or refer to their husband as their name, right? So this is the right understanding, okay, that the Hebrew women must have, because our foremothers had this understanding. Okay. Next slide says Yahweh's law for women to submit to their husbands. So this is a law according to Yahweh's laws from the beginning that women were supposed to submit to their husband. Genesis chapter 3 verse 16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. You see this, Israel? So this was a law given to Eve that her husband Adam was to be what? Her husband, and he was to be what? Ruling over her as her head. Okay, and also Eve was punished based upon her transgression of Yahweh's commandments by trying to be above the man, by trying to lead over the man. That's all masculine spirit. See, Yahweh judged Eve by being masculine. Yahweh is for what? A feminine spirit for the Hebrew women. That's what he prefers. So you Hebrew women have to tap out of that masculine spirit, as you can see. And that's the spirit that Eve had, trying to lead over Adam, trying to be his mother, trying to tell him, lead him in the direction. That's off as hell. As you can see, Yahweh don't play about his commandments. So it's a law that women are supposed to be what? Submissive to their husband. Point blank, period. So now Adam was supposed to be commanded to rule over his wife Eve, just like all men in general are supposed to be ruling over their wife. That's the law of Yahweh's righteousness. That man's supposed to be the leader over their woman. Point blank, period. It says submissive definition. Ready to conform to the authority or will of others, meekly obedient or passive. So again, so you Hebrew women that's marrying to husbands, you're now telling the Most High and the husband you chose for him to be your husband, you're now telling this man that you willing to conform to the authority of that man that you married. You Hebrew women have put it out there saying, hey, this man is my husband. So guess what? You have to what? Submit. You have to conform to the authority under that man. It says meekly obedient or passive. So you're supposed to have more of a passive, obedient approach to your husband. Point blank, period. This is what the definition of being submissive is. This next slide. Worldly women submit to wickedness rather than submit to Yahweh's righteousness. This is the next point of understanding. So this is what the worldly women are going to do. They're going to submit to wickedness. They're not going to submit to Yahweh's commandments, his order of who they supposed to submit to. And we do know women are supposed to submit to a Hebrew man. Women in general overall, right, supposed to submit to a man. But we're talking about Hebrew women primarily are supposed to be submitting to a godly man that's keeping these commandments. Point blank, period. It says, worldly women submit to wickedness rather than submit to Yahweh's righteousness. It says, these are the points that worldly women do of their form of submission. They submit to anything involving making money. They submit to ungodly men. They submit to their worldly religions. They submit to other people rather than follow their husband's instructions. They submit to changing their body parts to fit worldly standards of beauty. So these are all key points that worldly women are going to do. They're going to submit to anything involving making money, right? So if it involves making money, being a whore or a thought, this is what women are going to do, right? Anything that involves them making money. Worldly women going to submit to their boss on their job, right? They're going to submit to that boss on that job, primarily the so-called white man, because that white man is paying them a check. So they automatically going to come with a more feminine approach to that particular man who is their boss, right? Because they're getting paid. They're getting compensated on the job. It says they submit to ungodly men. You see this, Israel? They submit to ungodly men. So a lot of Hebrew women that's of the world, right? They're going to submit to ungodly men. See, these women may get involved with crimes. These women may get involved with doing things contrary to what the Bible says, right? These women are wicked women primarily because they submit to ungodly men. The next point says they submit to their worldly religions. So in this next point, it shows that worldly women, they're going to submit to their worldly religions, right? Because that's what they're going to do. And this is all sin according to the Bible, because Hebrew women are not supposed to be doing religion. But again, this is what you have the blacks, Hispanic, Native Indian women are doing. They're submitting to their religion by worshiping them idols in those religions. It says they submit to other people rather than follow their husband's instructions. So most of the time, these worldly women submit to family members. They submit to friends. They listen to their advice over their own husband. They validate other people's opinions and things over their husbands, right? So that's an error. See, worldly women don't know how to obey their husband. So that's what it's saying. They rather obey other people outside of obeying their husband. And that's what a lot of Hebrew brothers are battling with in their own house. A Hebrew man may say, "Hey, wife, I don't like to see you dress out like that." I don't like to see you doing certain things. But the woman that's worldly, she's going to say, "I don't care what you say. It's my body, my choice. I dress how I want to dress. I do what I want to do. If I want to go out late at night, that's what I'm going to do." That's what worldly women rather do in the first place. They want to do what they want to do. They still want to be independent of the man, but have a man available. That's backwards. See, righteous women obey their husbands. Worldly women do not obey their husbands. Okay, so that's the point. And the next point says they submit to changing their body parts to fit worldly standards of beauty. Because worldly women, they cater to what? Submitting to the understanding of changing their body parts. They may get bigger breasts, bigger butt, bigger lips, they change their eye color, they change their skin complexion. This is what they all submit to, right? They submit to worldly theology when it caters to their body parts, right? They don't want to cater towards being natural. Submission to being natural is very rare for the modern woman to do. Okay, modern women of today want to cater to being submissive to changing their body or changing their outward appearance, right? So the righteous women of the Bible, they knew not to alter their outer body appearance, okay, because they would not submit to that. But worldly women submit to changing their body appearance, okay? So righteous women, when they are practicing femininity, according to the Bible, they're not changing their outward appearance with these surgeries and so forth. They're not going to do that because that's not in their spirit to do so. They love how Yahweh created them. Worldly women don't love how Yahweh created them. So that's why they're trying to make changes. Okay? So again, you Hebrew women, if you're battling with these type of spirits on this slide right here, you need to repent. Because these type of spirits are not the right type of spirit of Yahweh's righteousness. And these type of spirits, when you go to Sexy Red and Rapper Glorilla, these type of spirits are wicked as hell. These women need to repent, okay, before the day of judgment. Because these type of spirits right here, if you're tapping into this type of spirit vibration, by the time Yahshua the Mashiach cracked that sky, it'd be game over for you Hebrew women. The ones that are not operating in the right spirit. You Hebrew women that's not operating in the right spirit, you're going to be judged the same way just like these women are going to be judged. Because this type of spirit over here is not of the Most High. Point blank period. So again, these are things that you Hebrew women need to work on if you are battling these type of spirits over here on this slide. It says worldly women are known to be chronic complainers. It says a chronic complainer is someone who frequently expresses their dissatisfaction with various aspects of their life. They may see the world as negative and may not believe they are negative people themselves. They may also feel like nothing is good enough for them or meets their standards. Chronic complainers are never satisfied and will always find something wrong. I just had to bring out the definition on what a chronic complainer is, okay? But again, a chronic complainer is somebody who frequently expresses their dissatisfaction with various aspects of their life. So you have a lot of modern women always doing this, constant complaining, and they don't know that they themselves are chronic complainers. Okay, and this makes the relationship bad, you know what I'm saying? So this is why you have a picture like this, his brother irritated and his woman just don't seem to care. Right? She does not care about the feelings of this man. That's why she's talking to this man, looking at this man like he's a little boy. Right? So this woman appears in this picture as masculine, as you can see. And it says chronic complainers are never satisfied and will always find something wrong. So nothing that this man would do will satisfy this woman. It doesn't matter. It's never good enough. If you ladies are battling this type of spirit of being a chronic complainer, you need to work on overcoming this spirit so you can bring positive energy to your relationship as you develop the understanding of being a feminine woman. Okay, so you can create a good environment for your house, because irritating a man by being a chronic complainer is not good. Okay, as you can see, the man most likely will leave you soon. This is what this picture is kind of mimicking, that this man has had enough. He's eventually going to leave this woman. So that's why it says worldly women are known to be chronic complainers. So again, the modern women of today are known to be chronic complainers. Let's go into this next slide. It says righteous Hebrew women are a pillar of rest for their husband. So righteous women that's rolling with the right type of spirit of this Bible, right? They're going to be a pillar of rest for their husband. They're not going to come off with a chronic complaining spirit, as you see over here. They're going to come off with a more humble spirit that bring relaxation to a man. That's what this picture is about. Ecclesiasticus chapter 36 verse 24. And this is, of course, in general in the book of the Apocrypha. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus chapter 36 verse 24. It says, he that getteth a wife begetteth a possession, a help like unto himself, and a pillar of rest. You see this, Israel? So when a man getteth a wife, he's supposed to be getteth a possession, meaning now this man owns this wife. That's his property. A help like unto himself, because a woman was created to be a helpmate unto the man. She's supposed to be catering to the needs of the man. The husband and wife are supposed to have similar desires, right? A help like unto himself, because the husband and wife, in order for them to come together, they must be able to have some type of agreement with one another, so the relationship can be solid. And a pillar of rest, because now this woman is going to cater to her husband. She's going to create a safe environment for her husband to dwell in. So now this man is going to be at ease. He's going to be at peace. He's going to be at rest. See, men in general want rest in a household. Once you provide rest for that man in that household, he's not going nowhere, you Hebrew women. That's how you maintain a husband for the long haul. That's how you maintain to be married for 40, 50, 60, 70 years. See, women that create chaos in their household, they have short marriages that last 1 to 5 years. Okay? So, again, he that getteth a wife begetteth a possession, a help like unto himself, and a pillar of rest. So a Hebrew man that's walking in the right spirit of the Most High righteousness, once he gets a wife that's following Yahweh's commandments, he now is going to get a wife that's going to be a helpmate. He also is going to get a wife that's going to be a pillar of rest, meaning she's going to bring a good environment to his home. That's what it's saying. As you can see in this picture, this woman wants to make sure her husband is at ease. That is a righteous and humble woman spirit that our Hebrew women are supposed to have. And that's what makes this woman righteous. That's why it's titled Righteous Hebrew Women are a pillar of rest, because that's what a righteous woman is supposed to be, a pillar of rest for their husband. Point blank, period. Okay, Israel, so this concludes the lesson of biblical femininity according to the Bible, part 2. Okay, Israel, hopefully you took your notes. Hopefully you enjoyed this part 2 lesson on what biblical femininity is according to the Bible, because many people of today don't know what femininity is according to the Bible. So we just had to summarize the understanding a little bit, and we're going to eventually upload biblical femininity according to the Bible part 3 soon. So stay tuned for that, Israel. So hopefully enjoy this lesson. Share this video series with your family and friends. Let them know what biblical femininity is according to the Bible, in the right understanding according to Yahweh's righteousness. So other than that, Israel, stay tuned for more videos on Kingdom Builders of Israel LLC YouTube channel. Other than that, shalom.